This is a Leica, and since 3 months it is mine. In this video I'm going to share how I feel about this particular camera after shooting 10 rolls of film with it. What to consider if you're thinking about buying a Leica yourself, and whether I think it's worth it. I'll also take you with me while shooting on the streets of Ghent, Paris and a small town where nothing ever happens much. So which Leica is this? This one is a Leica M3. The main reason I got it is simply because it's what I could afford. I consider myself a hobby photographer who loves shooting film. After my sister gave me her Canon AE1, which worked great until the last few rolls I sent back to the lab came back completely blank. Then I got a Minolta X700, a gift from my girlfriend's parents. Also a great camera, but the shutter got stuck. I contacted a guy who services film cameras, but he doesn't work on Minolta X700s. Too many fragile electronics inside. There were plenty of options to replace them, cheaper ones too, but after watching Ripley on Netflix, mesmerized by the cinematography and the sound design,
Signor Greenleaf, un messaggio.
There was this one scene where he's using his Leica, and I couldn't get it out of my head how beautiful these cameras are. It's fully mechanical, no batteries, no electronics that can fail. Interesting. Now I just needed a reason to buy one. Or maybe not. Sometimes you don't need a big reason, and I think this is one of those moments. This is my Leica M3, built around 1955, back when every part of this camera was assembled by hand in Wetzlar, Germany. It was made in the same year my dad was born, which makes this one extra special. It's a single stroke version, which means I can wind the film in one smooth motion. Earlier models needed two. What I love most is that everything here is purely mechanical. No batteries, no screens, just precision engineered brass, gears and the sound of that perfect shutter click. The viewfinder is bright with a 0.91 magnification designed for 50mm lenses. Focusing through that little rangefinder patch feels like almost meditative, like aligning two worlds into one. The M3 was also the first 35mm camera with automatic frame lines, which was revolutionary at the time. You mount a lens and the correct frame lines just appear, like magic. More than 60 years later, this camera still feels smoother, quieter and more alive than most modern gear ever will. There's something timeless about it. It slows you down, but in the best possible way. After buying the camera from a guy who lives in the same city, I wanted to take the Leica for a spin. With a little daylight left, we jumped on our bikes for an evening stroll. I had the Ilford HP5 loaded and the atmosphere was super chilled. Ghent has just placed pianos all over the city for people to play freely. Of course, we got some ice cream and there's this shop that makes its own waffle cones. And it smells incredible when you pass by. There was also a carillon concert playing in sync with the piano, which was really special to witness. It's such a joy to stumble upon moments like that, people just enjoying themselves. And that's when I'm happiest to have a camera on me. It doesn't even matter if it's a Leica, it's rather the mindset of slowing down and paying attention that counts. I'm still getting used to slowing down and taking my time. I'm used to shooting digital with my Fujifilm cameras, or even film cameras that have an automatic light meter, which sets exposure for me. With the light meter, I have to measure light manually. So before taking a picture, I whip out my phone and open a light meter app. I use a free one called Light Meter. I take a reading of the scene first and then I know which settings to use. This summer I started experimenting with the Sunny 16 rule, a classic photography guideline for estimating exposure without a light meter. Here's how it works. On a sunny day, you set your aperture to f16 and then your shutter speed, which matches your ISO. So if my roll is ISO 400, I set my shutter speed to 1/400, or the closest available 1/500. It still takes some practice, but it's a great way to shoot faster, especially for street photography. I've only used it in bright light so far, but honestly the results turned out pretty good. I went on a business trip to Paris with a client. I work as a videographer for a skincare brand and we visited some high-end shops to get some inspiration. Of course, I took the Leica with me and there was so much to see. We were walking fast, so I had to make quick decisions here, but that's all part of the fun. I brought a roll of Kodak Gold 200 and 2 rolls of Ilford HP5. To me, shooting color film is like documenting the world as it feels, while black and white is like remembering it simplified, timeless. It takes a bit of getting used to because you start noticing the light and texture more than color. In today's social media world, it's not exactly the fastest way to grab attention, but it makes the images more personal. And that's why I love it. The loading process on the M3 takes a bit longer, but after doing it twice, I got the hang of it. There's this little take-up spool that you need to attach the film to before loading. If I ever lose that piece, I'm royally screwed. The last shoot that I want to share was in a quiet town, about a 30-minute bike ride from the city. Not much happens there, like most small Belgian towns. As someone who grew up in a similar place, I like the rhythm of life there fascinating. People spend their free time mowing the lawn, trimming the hedge, or going for a bike ride and a drink afterward. Now that I live in the city, there's still a part of me that misses that calm. But I also love the city life. You can disappear in the chaos. Everyone's busy with their own life and nobody really cares what the neighbors are doing. It's the complete opposite of small town life. And maybe someday we'll go back, or maybe not. So how do I feel now as a Leica shooter? Not that different, honestly. Even though my M3 has some scuffs and marks, it's still beautiful and works flawlessly, which was my main reason for buying it. A lot of people say shooting with a Leica slows you down, and that's true. But because I'm learning the Sunny 16 rule, I actually think it's helping me to shoot faster and more intuitively. I try to take it everywhere I go, and I don't necessarily take better pictures, but I stay more aware. I keep the camera where I can see it before leaving home, just to remind myself to bring it along, because you never know what you'll come across. I think this camera will last me a lifetime. I can trust it, and I know it can always be serviced properly if needed. So yes, if you can afford it, go for it. You won't regret it. Thank you for watching and see you next time.